Well, NDTV's Vishnu Shom is in the Araria district, which we mentioned is one of the worst affected areas. Vishnu, you've been there for a couple of days now. In terms of the relief efforts, we're seeing a huge effort by the army now, but is it enough?
Well, today is really the first day of a change, and what the comments which you heard over there from the Chief Minister, everyone's hopeful that now that there is that very large presence, that there would finally be an effort at getting more people out. But there was something which you mentioned, Nidhi, which really struck me, that there are some numbers which indicate that, say, 75 people have died. Now, that just seems to be extremely difficult to accept. How many people have really died in this tragedy? That's the big question. How many people are under these waters? That's something which people are going to find out only much later when these waters recede. In a sense, Nidhi, this reminds me of the tsunami. When the waters came into the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, people were just swept out, and nobody really knew how many people died because there were no bodies to be found. Over here, perhaps that might just be the case. No bodies to be found because the bodies are all under the water. Well, that really is something which we'll get a better idea of in the days ahead. But there is a sense of optimism associated with thousands of army soldiers, Navy divers and more Air Force personnel working overtime to save lives. But where did this all begin? It all began at that embankment on the Kosi River which breached. Well, NDTV's journalists went back over there to find out just what the problem was and why that embankment breached. What were the circumstances?
हर एक साल उन लोगों का हर एक जनवरी आपने बताया था कि वहाँ पर टूट सकता, एक बार नहीं कईयों पटक हम लोग ये बताते हैं इस पॉइंट कमजोर है या टूट जाएगा, उन लोग भी महसूस किए, लेकिन वहाँ पर एक भी बोल्डर स्टब नहीं बनाए.
It's tough to prove or disprove these claims, but what's visible is no less shocking. More than 50 of these dials and switches that look sophisticated actually don't work. This is the control room at the Kosi barrage, constructed over 4 decades ago to control the might of the fickle Kosi River.
यही है आपको बटन सिस्टम, हर एक ढोका का बटन ऐसे दाबने पर ढोका उठता बैठता, सब बेकाम है, एक भी काम नहीं उठता है.
Realizing that this guided tour actually amounted to bad publicity, these employees of the Kosi River project immediately changed tack and switched to explaining how it was a 3-tier functioning affair. With some of the tiers actually functioning, even though in some cases manually. It's not merely the control room, even the sluice gates that regulate water flow have stopped functioning. Amazingly, local fishermen use these gates each time they have opened. Fish is carried by the rushing waters.
उठाया तो उस होकर के तो पानी गिर गया, जितना मछली सब बाकी जगह पर मछली रह जाता, मछली कलेक्शन करता.
Officials say this is how the gates have stopped working. It's just plain luck that the weight of the Kosi waters didn't crash against the barrage. It found a breach point 15 kilometers upstream, or else the consequences could have been far worse. With Ravish Kumar on the Indo-Nepal border, Sandeep Bhushan for NDTV.
All right, Nidhi, well, a pretty desperate situation over there, but again, that sense of optimism that finally more people will be brought out. The next couple of days are absolutely critical, but of course the next big concern is the health issue, and that's something we'll get a better idea of in the days ahead. For the moment, it's back to you, Nidhi.
All right, Vishnu, thanks very much for that ground assessment of what's going on there. Well.